Hello everyone, I'm Mahmoud Muhammad from the marketing program and I'm going to talk about the chosen goal in toward the sustainable future course. Okay, let's start by the table of content. Firstly, I will talk about brief description about chosen goal, then target and its indicator, and then about the problem and its causes, and then solution on the global and local and individual scale, and finally I will post the references. Okay, let's start by the choosing goal. Actually, I was planning to choose goal number 2, which was about ending hunger in all of its formats, but due to my time constraints and also due to connectedness between goal number 1 and goal number 2, which can be addressed in the later on forms of that work, maybe in a blog post I can address that a connectedness between two goals. I choose goal number 1, which aims to ending poverty or no poverty. So, the goal number 1 states that ending poverty in all of its forms everywhere in the world. So, we are talking about poverty, but how can we define poverty? I think we should get a general idea about poverty, which have been defined as not having money to meet the basic human needs, including food, clothing, and shelter. Yes, you might wonder in 2018 about some people who don't have a shelter. Don't look inside Finland or Scandinavian region or Nordics or developed countries, but still some people in 2018 don't have a shelter or having a house without a roof to stay in. So still some people in below the poverty level, which we're gonna address right now. And also poverty is more than money. It's in terms of not having a right to education, not having a right to good health system, or don't having a right in equality in opportunities, and more than that. But we will gonna address them in a later slides. So how researchers manage to measure poverty level? Researchers define the international poverty line based on if the person or if the person average income or household consumption is less than $1.25 per person during his daily consumption, so we can consider that that person or that human is living below the international poverty line. Okay, so what is target? So I have choose target number 1.2 and indicator 1.2.2. Okay, so the target 1.2 aims by 2030 to reduce the current amount of poverty, including men's, women, and children from all ages to its half. So suppose we have 10,000, so they aim to reduce the level to 5,000 people who are living below the poverty line, international poverty line. And the indicator for each country is the national poverty line. It's the same also like international one. Within each country, if the average income or household consumption per person is below than the average, so we can consider that as a poverty, or that person or that human is living below the national poverty line. Okay, so it's a problem. We can acknowledge that in across our world there is also poverty. It can be also addressed in the modern world in terms of not having. Okay, we're gonna okay. Let's define the problem first. It's what is the problem? It's like a one that have been defined before. When you have your daily consumption or income is less than the minimum amount per person per year. So suppose that here in Finland you have the minimum income level is 1,200 euros. If you have your income below that and you are working full time, maybe you can consider it can be considered as a poverty. But let's see. Okay, what is the causes of that? Lack of control over educational and medical system. I prefer to put it as the first one because if you have a good educational system or if you have an access to good educational opportunity, you will be having competences where you can find a lot of opportunities in many areas in the world. You are not confined. At that time you will be confined with opportunities in your countries, but you can move elsewhere to the world. And also, if you have a good medical system, good vaccination system, you will be having a, you will avoid a lot of diseases, which also will save your money or will save the people's money. Second is unemployment. When people don't have good employment opportunities, or when they have some kind of not matching jobs, they may stop working and also lead to having a poverty problem. Inequality and dictatorships. Inequality in terms of boasting some jobs. I don't know about situation here, but I have faced some situations where only men can apply for these jobs, or where only women can apply for these jobs, and these can also provide some kind of inequalities in opportunities, and also prevent qualified people to access that kind of jobs. Also, dictatorships will it gives unequal distribution of wealth that makes wealthy people or rich people more richer and poor people more poorer. And also corruption. Taking an example of income taxing system in Nordic countries, here if I'm working currently, I'm paying social insurance and all of that stuff. But if my income is below the taxable income, I wouldn't be paying income tax. Okay, so if I didn't exceed that level, I wasn't paying income tax. These prevent also poorer people from getting more poorer and richer from getting more richer. But taking an example back home, I'm from Egypt and we don't pay income taxes at all. So imagine someone is taking 10,000 Egyptian pounds per month as a salary and so as a gross salary, and another one is taking 1,000 per month as a gross salary, and that the one who is taking higher salary is working 5 hours per day, another one is working 12 hours per day, where he don't have any available or free time to search for another job and all of that stuff. So corruption can make people more, or can increase the poverty level. And also religious conflict and civil wars. Taking civil wars as an example in Sudan, between North and South Sudan, and then now it's supposed to be a good situation, but now South Sudan is more poorer than before, and the poverty level is increasing because of civil wars between inside the countries that divided the country to two countries, and religious conflicts also. Taking the current conflict in the Myanmar corner in Asia, where people based on some religious beliefs have been deported to Bangladesh, and also Bangladesh don't have the good economic systems that can take all of that enormous number of refugees and provide a shelter, provide houses, provide a good working opportunities for them. So this leads those people or those refugees at that area of the world stay in the streets without shelter, without food, and waiting for donations that people can give them or that people can send from all over the world, and also causes a lot of crisis. So this is the main causes that I managed to collect in that little time. And finally, solutions that I thought about. On a global scale, we can raise awareness firstly, and secondly, we can all people in the world must have a universal access to the basic social services. Okay, and sorry, it was some problem in connection. And secondly, raising awareness towards gender equality, making that, as I illustrated before, gender equality is not only about working rights, but also in all of its aspects. It can prevent poverty also. And thirdly, development programs for empowering people in developing countries. And on local scale, developing a social protection system to support those who cannot support themselves, like unemployment benefits here. Yes, from my perspective, it shouldn't be giving on, on a continuous basis, but you must, as it's done here in Finland, you track a people and you provide them with a working opportunities, but once they stop or they got fired from their work, so there is a system or a protection system for them that protects them from staying in street, don't have a money to pay their rent, don't have a money to pay for their food and extra stuff. Also, accessibility and equality on entrepreneurial opportunities and resources. In some countries in developing area of the world where only rich people have the opportunity to go and start their own businesses. But if we give an equality to all people, we give them a lot of funding, a lot of necessary funding, or we give them like what banks are doing in some other areas in the world, some easy procedures in taking a loan for a bank based on your starting your own business. It also will minimize the unemployment problem and also will provide a solution for poverty. And finally, on an individual scale, adopting an entrepreneurial mindset, some traditional thinking that prefer having a stable employment contract, but while if I started my own business, but I must take a risk, but when it will be calculated risk, it will be a good also. And for all of us, we can donate whenever we have the ability to do. And finally, I can summarize what I have learned from this brief research about poverty. It's a call to action. It can be a call to change the world so many people can have enough money, enough food, enough shelter, while action is giving an access to education and health and protection from violence everywhere in the world. And okay, here you can check references that I collected that material from. And good luck for everyone and have a nice summer holidays and see you in the comment box.